Welcome
Welcome
to Sleepdrunk.
to Sleepdrunk, where the Moon Men are planning a revolution.
How are they doing, Alex?
Pretty good, but they're
good.
they're
Little
fed
bit
up
upset.
with society, you know.
Yeah,
'cause,
it's
like,
that
we
time
live
of
in
the
a
year.
society.
It's that time of the year.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear more about that during Discussion Avenue, but first, we're going to tell I think probably one of, at least my favorite stories from our time in college. Then after that, we're going to be heading down to Discussion Avenue and ending off with a section about music. Before we get into the story, I thought I want to give a quick shout out to someone. Not sure if you listen to the podcast, but our RA, Becca, our RA from college, they're like the resident advisor. They're kind of the one that enforces the rules on the floor. This one's for you because this involves a little something that was a bit of a violation of housing policy, a little bit. And
Just a bit.
as the title says, sorry, Becca.
One day, this is way early on in the semester. I think it was still January at this point.
January or February.
Yeah, early February, if it was February yet. And we're hanging out in Alavi's room, just doing the do.
I think we're getting ready to set
booling.
up a whiteboard, like a whiteboard sticker I had.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
prepping to set that up.
And Alavi was playing around, just being a casual head ass as per usual.
As I do.
Yeah, he was playing around with some of that putty, you know, like you stick
Poster
things
putty.
to the wall with
Yeah.
it, or, you know, just whatever. It's just like craft putty.
Yeah.
And he decides that he's going to make his deodorant nice and tactical,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
he picks up his thing of deodorant, which is sitting on the desk, puts some putty on it and sticks it to his chair.
No, not
But
my-
then, like, it's on the chair, so it was like moving all around, right? So the next logical step in the process was to stick the deodorant to the wall.
Yes.
So
And they used I could use a good little bit, like a nice sized chunk. Bit bigger than I should have.
It was like, when flattened, and it wasn't flattened, it was like maybe half a centimeter thick when it was flattened.
Yeah.
But it had like maybe a coverage area of a square inch or inch and a half.
Maybe a bit bigger than a quarter.
Yeah.
Almost like a 50-cent piece, but...
He stuck that to the wall, and, you know, that was that. And then the next day or the day after that or something, very soon after.
Yeah. No, that was the day after that was the day we set up the whiteboard sticker. My bad. Yeah. Keep going. Yeah.
And the day after that, we were just yet again booling in Alavi's room. And Alavi goes for the tactical deodorant.
As you do.
And rips it right off the wall along with a piece of the wall.
Yes. That's a nice little chunk of the paint. So,
Nice little
so at this point, we
chunk
should
of
give some
the-
context about our university housing office. They like to extract money from us residents, and part of that are
Extract, yes,
fines. So, for example, if you damage the wall, here's a fine. And I'm thinking, you know, hey, we could pay that fine. We could do that, or we could paint the wall. And I remember saying, here's today's project. I just said that. Like, it pops off. First thing comes to my head, here's today's project. Yeah. And so first we freaked out a little bit, as you do, right? And
Yeah,
I think we
right.
decided to first go to Yikels. Michael's, as most people know it. For those of you who don't know, it's like an arts and crafts chain. They're pretty much all over the States, but like they sell like paints and crafts and other stuff. And so we I grab a tiny little sample that just came off the wall and take it with me, right? So we hop in my car, I think it was. We drive to Michael's, right? And we get to the place with the paints, and we're like, oh, I A, lost the sample, and B, we're like, this is probably a bad idea because A, it was like painting
Yeah,
paint.
it was like art. It was like acrylic.
Yeah, it was
art
acrylic paint. And also, we didn't have the actual sample, so we couldn't get a good look at it lighting-wise, because, you know, paints look different lightings. And so we, I think, pretty quickly got out of Michael's. We only spent there maybe 10, 15 minutes in there, right?
Yeah, we didn't spend very much time
So I
in
think
there.
we hop into my car. I think, didn't something happen with an ambulance? Was that trip to Michael's?
Yes, the light was green and no one was moving, so you just kind of went, but also there was a siren in the background, and as soon as you got out on the road after you
Right
took your
behind me.
left through the green light, there was a fire truck that everyone was waiting for.
I think it was an ambulance. Was it a fire truck or an ambulance?
No, it was a fire
It was a
truck.
fire truck? Okay. Good. That means that there wasn't anyone dying in there.
They were doing the siren wail, where that means get the hell out of my way, and then you just sort of pulled over and let them go around after a little ways
Because
down
for
road.
context, the road was it's not like a super tight road, but it's on the tighter side, so there's not that much space to turn off. So for a little while, I was just kind of behind me, and I was trying to find a spot to turn off. But yeah, that happened. So then I think we got back to the dorm, right? and I cut out a small sample of the wall with my Leatherman. So I'm like, you know what? At this point, like, even if we got hit with the fine, a bigger patch won't change it, right? So I cut out a small bit of the wall, right? And we hop into your car this time. We drive to, was it Home Depot or Home Depot? Home Depot. So we get to Home Depot, and then Alex and I are walking around the paint section, you know, because we're trying to find the right kind of paint. And we're trying to compare, you know, is it Boston cream or country cream? By the way, Boston cream and country cream are the same color. There is no difference between the two. There is absolutely no difference. I'm sorry, like Bear, I think it was Bear. Yeah, Bear's country cream and Boston cream are the exact same color. Like it's not like I could not distinguish a difference between the two paints, no matter how hard I tried.
That Valspar, dude.
I think we ended up getting Valspar, didn't we? But beside the point. And yeah, and so I think we're just walking around like a married couple, right? Like, oh, you know, what color should we do this? Is it this? You know, is it more one color or another? And we have to think about the sheen. So I think we both agree it's probably eggshell, right? And we actually try to go to the paint counter and test if they can test it with a colorimeter, right? And there's a dude there who had a cut on his finger that he duct taped up, right? And they're like, oh, your sample size is too small. We're not going to be able to get it. And so from there, we're like, all right, we just take our chances. We pick up a sample thing of paint, a roller, like a really cheap paint roller, and a tray, right? So we hop back in your car, and we drive back to the dorm, okay? We sneak in the paint, like we like stick our heads around, look around, make sure no one's around, because sneaking into a dorm with wall paint is very suspect, to say the least. Not a good look. It really isn't. So we get into my room, we get to work, right? You know, like bust out the paper towels, we get out some masking tape to like cover because the way it was set up, it's almost like there's a false wall that our closets are housed in, right? And so like it's my closet is on the left, Michael's closet is on the right, and like there's like they have like this trim on the edge that's purple, and so we tape that up, and then we bust out the roller. I bust out the roller. I think you weren't even there at the time, and I hit it, and I'm like, okay, that looks a bit wrong, right? And I figured, oh, after cures it might be different. So I put on a coat and I wait, right? At this point I'm like really freaking out because I'm like, oh, you know what if someone comes in? What if whatever? And two problems: A, eggshell was the wrong sheen, eggshell. So I put it on, right, and I find out Boston cream, wrong color. Absolutely wrong, right? And so at this point I'm freaking out because at this point not only have I like accidentally violated housing policy, but I've purposefully done it, and that means I get to write a whole essay and pay an even bigger fine because I painted on the walls, and that's a no-no, right? So at this point we're freaking out, and we decide, all right, what should we do? I can either A, just cut my losses, admit it, and eat shit, right? Or we can cut out a large piece of the wall, big enough for the colorimeter, drive to another hardware store to avoid our shame, and take another crack at it. So Alex gets his exact
that's what we did.
Yeah, Alex grabs his exact
I go to my room, I grab my X-Acto knife set, and I bring it back over to Alavi's. And we go into the closet, and he lets me stand on like a cooler or something.
Yeah, my cooler.
And I'm like standing up there trying to shave off a big enough surface area of the wall in like just above the shelf over to the right in his closet, which is like way up high. And we get this pretty sizable, it's like an inch by inch of the wall. Yeah, I mean it was big. Yeah. And we bring that to Lowe's, which happened to be a little bit closer.
And also wasn't Home Depot, so we wouldn't have to be shamed.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to be shamed by the guy at the counter at Home Depot. But we go into Lowe's, we give it to the guy, he throws it in the colorimeter.
And he gets to work.
Asks us, what sheen, and we decide it was like a semi-gloss or a satin?
It was satin.
Well, we decided it was a satin, but it probably was like more of a semi-gloss, but it was close enough at this point where it didn't matter. Yeah.
So we get in satin, right? And so then we get them to start mixing the paint. And at this point, one of our boys shows up, right? The only Ramsey. For some context on who Ramsey is, the day before, we had to go to that same Lowe's because we were changing Alex's car battery. And he dropped one of the screws that like holds the bracket that like keeps the car battery in place. So we drive to Lowe's to like try and get the screw, and our boy Ramsey helps us out, and afterwards keeps badgering us about his damn survey because he's talking about, you know, oh hey, if you realize you failed the survey, you have a chance to win $100, and if you don't, it hurts me if you don't give me a perfect score. I'm like, damn Ramsey, like you on the verge of being fired or something. But I actually ended up filling out a survey. Like I actually did what most people don't do. I filled that out. I said, you know, Ramsey, great guy, got us the screw, really friendly. And the next day when we were in that Lowe's, he remembered us and asked if we did the survey. And I said yes, and he was very happy.
He didn't believe us, but we were
he was like, oh,
yes,
you guys probably
dude,
forgot.
we did your
Nah,
survey.
we did it, Ramsey. We got you.
So now we know somebody at Lowe's, which is odd for college students, but no, whatever.
Because the average college kid does not go to hardware stores that often.
No, they don't.
We went to hardware stores a lot last semester.
Like an embarrassing amount. Like, why were we at hardware stores that much?
Like almost once every 2 weeks or so.
Oh yeah.
Like if you were to like split it out over the, like if you're just to average it, it'll be maybe at once every 2 weeks.
Like I was there. I'm trying to think of all the things I got from hardware stores.
You got that O-ring, right?
I got a measuring tape. I got bolt cutters. I got that bolt for my car battery. Mm-hmm. I got some nuts and bolts for my skateboard. All of those paint trips.
I went for a few things. I went to get some magnets too at one point.
Yeah, I remember we were looking around for magnets.
I feel like there's more.
Yeah, like I feel like there's more times I was in Lowe's. It was just insane. But
regardless, so at this point we receive our tub of paint. We got like little sample jars. Like for those who don't know, if you end up in the same situation as me, most hardware stores sell like little sample jars that are only like $5, so you don't have to buy a full container of paint.
Yeah.
And so
you don't have to buy like a quart. You can just get like this tiny little pint, or
I think it was less. Might have been less.
Yeah.
But get like a little sample jar, right? And so he mixes it. Then he smears a bit on the top to see if it's right. It looked close, but we were still worried. So we waited a little bit, had him mix it more, and then apply it again. We figured, you know what? This is going to be about as close as it gets, okay? So now we drive back to the dorm, okay? Tensions are high. I'm freaking out. I spent like $30 at this point, I think, fixing this, which is almost as much as the fine, if I'm being honest. Actually, the fine probably would have been over 100 at that point. But regardless, we get back into the dorm and we tape up. We apply the first coat. First, it looks terrible, but we wait for it to cure, and it's close. But the previous coat was shining through, so we do another coat. It's getting better. One more coat, and we do a bit of blending. It was
like I sort of just like took over at this point. Mm-hmm. I went and masked off both of the closets, and I strategically. Like, I painted the entire width of the wall where the damage was, and I painted it down to a point where, like, you wouldn't kneel down to notice that, like, transition. I made, like, a gradient from the new paint to the old paint. And I did the same at the top of the closet doors, because it was in between the two closet doors. So I made another, like, gradient to the old paint at the top, and both of them were, like, impeccable. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm proud of that.
So after a few days, it was perfect, to the point where later on, I think might have even been that week or the week after, Becca came into like my room, because we have to do these one-on-ones with her as part of like, it's just part of the university policy, just where we check in, make sure everything's going good. And so we talked with her. She stood right next to that wall and didn't notice, and it was beautiful. Like, the paint job was impeccable. The only people that could tell it was there was me and Alex, because we were the ones that like put it there, right? Michael couldn't tell. Sean couldn't tell. Our friend Jalen couldn't tell. Nobody could tell, right? And so to this day, actually they repaint the walls every summer, but I don't think they've done it yet. Like, to this day, in a room in a building in a university, there is this very, very slightly yellower than the rest of the wall strip of paint, where we painstakingly, diligently, and beautifully covered my ass.
Yes, we did.
And also, it also got me a little bit of a business, because now a friend of mine happened to have a little accident. Guess who has some paint for some reason that is proximal to the color of the wall. And so I think it's been used twice where I've had to lend out the paint to people. It's
I
been
almost
great.
did it, and then we found out that they'll just like repaint the brick walls. Of course, this didn't happen on the brick walls.
Yeah,
but
that's what happened on the false wall.
I like damaged a piece of my brick wall, but that apparently isn't a big deal at all. So
Yeah, but we got it done. And it's funny, actually, my room has actually required a number of maintenance calls. Like, our one of our lights broke in like September, and we never got it fixed. And so,
it's just stupid.
yeah, I know. Here's the thing: we're both just really lazy, and we were planning on it one day, and then something happened, and then we're like, let's do tomorrow, and then tomorrow became the last day of the semester. that was completely on us just being lazy pieces of shit. But regardless, that is the paint story. And the reason, actually, there's a reason we waited until now to tell it, was because we were worried that someone, like our RA, might listen, and we'd be admitting to severely
I think
violating.
I heard somewhere that actually she said she was going to respect our privacy and just not listen to our podcast.
Even then, it's one of those things where like
RA.
even if she gets curious and like ends up breaking. 'Cause I think she told us she might be listening after like the semester ends. And if you do, hi Becca.
So
hi.
Yeah, hi Becca.
But yeah, that's why I waited. Like this happened, we're like, oh, this is going on the podcast. Actually, this might have happened before we started the podcast. Like, that's how early it was. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, this was definitely before the podcast started. This is a few weeks before.
When we were in the planning phase of the podcast, we are like, this is going to be a story, but we've saved it until right after the semester just because it could get us in some trouble.
Yeah,
But
just a bit.
that's the paint story.
I mean, let's not act like that's the only thing that could get us in some trouble.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of many things. But
yeah, I mean, it's honestly like it's like hardware store attendances. The amount of housing policy violations we both accumulated was pretty ridiculous.
To be fair, I had a lighter in my room for the majority of the semester, and that's a violation.
And
so
we also
like,
had several containers of flammable liquids so that we could refill them.
Me too.
I mean, hey, nothing happened. We're not idiots. We're just rule breakers.
I had something that was mounted on the wall questionably, but managed to slip by. But I'm sure if I go back and review policy, I'll find... Also, technically, we got our skateboards, which count as athletic equipment, which is a violation, apparently, in the fine text. Michael had baseball bats, which are also count as violations.
Why couldn't you have athletic equipment?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
That's dumb.
It is. But like it's like another
just like no cinder blocks.
Yeah, we have another rule: no cinder blocks. Which there's a reason it's like that. Like all those small, minute rules, there's reasons they're there.
Yeah, but also it's pretty understandable that you shouldn't have a soldering iron.
Yeah,
I did anyway.
Or a lighter, multiple lighters.
Yeah, I had 3 at one point.
I think I had
4 because I had a big lighter too.
I had 2 lighters. Bunch of matches.
Oh, tons of matches.
For a while, I had a can of butane. I had a lot. I
had 3 cans of butane and a can of regular lighter fluid because I had a Bic, a Zippo, and 2 torch butane lighters.
Yes, one of which is broken.
Not entirely. I just need to release the pressure.
We bought them in sets.
Oh yeah, yours is screwed.
Yeah, mine's broken. But yeah.
So now that we're done breaking some university policy, I say we move on up to breaking some laws. So let's go ahead and steal the nitrous oxide canister of chat from the Hospital of Debate, located on Discussion Avenue. Yeet.
All right. Oh, what are we gonna do with those NOS canisters, Alex?
I was just thinking we could sell the pencil,
We'll leave a link in the show notes to what this is referencing. Because for those of you who don't... I mean, if you're in the UK, you might know. But for those of you who don't know...
definitely know.
There's a story behind this. So we'll put a link to a YouTube video that'll help explain this. But Alex, it's been about 2 weeks since we've recorded, right? Almost.
Yes, it's been a while since we've last recorded.
Because we've had a lot going on. Finals, move out. I've had some stuff. But why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Well, let's see. If we recorded 2 weeks ago, that was while I was at school. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was at school for a little interim bit. I was back for 2 nights and like a day and 2 halves of days to go finish up my last 3 final exams. And then on Tuesday the 14th, I was able to leave for good and come back home. I got home really late because I wasn't able to leave up there until 5 o'clock or 5:30 or something, and then
we had like a little floor lunch together.
Yeah. Well, everybody went and like left and had lunch without me.
Well, see, because other people had to leave.
They were like, "Where are you?" And then I get out of my exam, and they're like, "Whoa, we're already at the restaurant."
Yeah,
sorry. I don't even know why I bothered going up there, but whatever.
Sorry about that.
I didn't order anything.
Yeah.
And then, the checkout process was just a mess, honestly. Like, as I was walking into the neighborhood desk, about 3 or 4 firefighters in like full suit walked out.
What?
I don't know what was happening in there. There were like fire engines with their sirens on and lights on, parked all the way down that road.
Microwave smoke, calling it someone microwave something too long.
Yeah, but they all sort of just like came out the door right as I was about ready to go in. They just barged through.
Oof.
So that was fun. And then I went in there and they didn't have any sort of organized process for how to check out. Like everybody was just swapping lines back and forth because nobody knew where they were supposed to be. And then I finally checked out, trekked back up to my car. Oh my god, the 30-minute parking lots. So they have like these parking lots that are outside of our building so that you can load stuff into your car. Well, they timed the final exam so that literally everyone was leaving at the same time. So the 30-minute spots were completely full anywhere near our building. So I had to, luckily I had already moved out most of the stuff in my room, but the few things that I had left, I had to load them onto a hand truck and go up a hill all the way to the nearest parking garage, which isn't near.
It's like if you're walking, like maybe 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I hiked back up there, got in my mom's car because I couldn't fit my refrigerator in my car, and drove home. Oh my god, that was another thing too. The holy crap, our university is really getting on my nerves. That last little
tell me about it.
They refused to let me into the parking garage, despite the fact that I had my parking permit for the parking garage, that I paid a ridiculous amount of money just to have. Only because I didn't have the stupid little RFID card to tap against the reader. So then I had to go park forever away in some parking lot across a main thoroughfare in the area, which just really ground my gears. But, whatever. I'm sure everybody has qualms with their university. So moving on, I got home. Then on Thursday, I don't think I did anything mostly this week. On Thursday, I had an appointment that I was finally able to get. I've been looking for this appointment forever. I don't really want to go too much into the details, but like, God, it's hard to find doctors that do that. And then I've just been doing like personal projects. Actually, I forgot on Tuesday night, and this is, wow, I'm jumping around everywhere. Went over and, tree just dropped. All right, well, so I went over, booed with the boys, caught up with everyone on Tuesday night after I got home. That was fun. And then basically for the whole last week, I've just been sitting at home, just doing whatever I can find to do. Like I just kind of cleaned my room and my closet because I felt like it, which is not something that I do. I've been working on tons of personal projects. I bought some nice tools. I got a nice soldering iron. I highly recommend the TS100. Maybe I'll do a full review on the blog. But it is just a fantastic piece of equipment. And I've done a lot of personal projects. I completed the status indicator outside my door, and I've completed the blog post I wrote about that. And right now I have a few other projects. So one, I have a thermometer that also reads humidity, and I wrote an entire formula to calculate dew point in C++ with the relative humidity and temperature.
Wow.
So I now have that in my window, and I want to make a wireless one that's like connected to a better location outside, like in a shaded box. And my parents might give me funding for that because they would use it.
Nice.
And then I'm also working on a like homemade smart plug. So that's why I went to Lowe's the other day, so I could buy a plug for like a replacement extension cord outlet for like a plug that I just cut the other end off of, and I installed a relay on the neutral wire, and I'm going to connect that to a Raspberry Pi and make it an internet connected plug.
Nice.
So I can turn my lamp on and off by like telling my Google Home something. That's the end goal.
You should also just get like a smart plug off Amazon for like $7.
They're not that cheap, and the cheap ones are terrible.
Are they? Okay.
Yes.
Good to know. So I might pick some up for my dorm next year. Good to know.
And also, they might be weird to connect to the Wi-Fi in school, but whatever. And there was another one. Oh, yes. So this one's really complicated. So might be able to get funding from my parents to build a pet tracker for my cat, because we had a little incident with my cat where she just decided to leave and just kind of chill in the woods for way too long, and we ended up finding her, which is great, but that's a little scary. Another one of her lives. That's a whole separate story in itself. We should write that down, honestly.
Yeah.
And that I plan on using a LoRa module, which is like long range slow Wi-Fi, which would be perfect for, the amount of distance that my cat would be able to cover, and a GPS chip. So it would just upload GPS coordinates using the LoRa module to a LoRa receiver here on site, which I could read with my phone or something.
No, that's actually pretty smart, because I can imagine there's not that much data going through the GPS chip, right?
Yeah, there's GPS chip doesn't even need like an internet connection just to operate.
It's satellites.
And then I would just feed the coordinates that it has through the LoRa thing, which is nowhere close to maximum bandwidth.
Two doubles or two floating point numbers.
Yeah, like that's nothing.
Yeah.
And then the challenge there is being able to fit all of those components onto something that's realistic for a cat to wear.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Which is going to be difficult, but I'll hopefully make it work.
Yeah. So is that about it?
That's about it. Yeah, I went and bowled Wednesday night, which was the 22nd that's 2 days ago, at Ryan's house. We had the whole clan there, actually. Oh, I forgot about that. I met Ryan's girlfriend for the first time, and her sister was over there too, so we had a whole shindig.
That's nice.
I don't think Ryan's sister was in favor of that, but she left, and then we went back over last night and did some extreme bowling, but I sadly can't go there. And here we are.
All right. Let's see, my last 2 weeks have been frankly insane. Let's see. So we recorded. When was it? That was like Saturday or Sunday. So I finished up my exams. And the next day, I'm like, you know what? I could start packing tonight, but like I'm tired and I want to record. Actually, it was Monday. I'm tired. We got to record. I'm just going to wait till tomorrow. And of course, I was fasting because it is Ramadan. And I decided to start to fast that day. So I ended up getting up early, eating, and of course, I sleep in way too long. So at this point, I made plans to be at my uncle's place who I was staying with for the next couple of days before iftar, which is the fast breaking time, which then I think for us was around 8:15, like roughly around that range. So I start packing as quick as I can, right? Like I'm throwing stuff in boxes, putting stuff away, getting as much as I can done. And then the floor lunch happens, and I'm like, okay, this should only be an hour or two. Shouldn't put too big a dent into my packing. It was longer than that, and it put a huge dent in my packing. So I ended up having to leave half my stuff there. So what I do is I grab all of my electronics, because I was going to go to a family friend's house, and they were going to put all my electronics in their basement, because my current plan is how my stuff is stored right now is everything is in my car, which is on a driveway at that family friend's place. So I take my fridge, my monitor, my coffee maker. I let Michael take the microwave because he was staying longer than me. And I get there as quick as I can. I get there at 7:30 or maybe 7:15. I unload everything as quick as I can, say hi to my family friends quickly, and then just hop in my car and book it. I may or may not have violated some laws regarding speed, because I was going to be late, and I feel like it's rude, I don't want to make them wait. I promised them I'd be there, so I floored it.
Yeah, I mean, they're starving. They could be making them wait.
Yeah, and it was about half an hour away. I left at 7:40. So almost 7:50, and there was traffic. But so for the places there weren't, miles per hour were reached. I'll leave it at that. I think I might have been going like 15 or 20 over. But I managed to get there literally 1 minute before iftar. Literally at like on the dot. I get there.
That reminds me of when I was meeting up with Ryan a few weeks ago. Or I guess that was on the last Tuesday I was talking about. So I was talking to Ryan on the phone, and we were going to meet up after he was done at his girlfriend's house. He's like, yeah, around 8:15. And I was just joking with him, like, that's a really specific time, Ryan. What's going on at 8:15? And he's like, yeah, dude, actually, I want you to meet me there at 8:17:45. So, it was just like a joke at this point. It's like, whatever. Come around 8 o'clock or so, I'm getting all my stuff ready to go meet Ryan. And I time it just so. And I kid you not, I rolled up to Ryan's car and like my car stopped the second my phone said it was 8:17:45.
That is beautiful.
Like I really tried there.
That's beautiful. So like I was saying, I get to my uncle's place, I eat, I relax for a bit, then start unloading some of my stuff from my car. So at this point I still had the other half in my room with Michael, right? So I unload some of my stuff, I just sort of chill for a bit, and then I hop out and then go to bed. And the next day my plan was to drive to our university, pick up the rest of my stuff, and then go meet a friend of mine who's in the next state over, who's about an hour away, right? And I hop in my car, start unloading. Once again, pro tip for anyone in college, packing always takes longer than you think it will. Give ample time. And so
yes,
I pack
definitely.
as much.
You can never start packing early enough.
Yeah, like I pack as much as I can, but it came to the point where if I were to leave for my friend's place, I would have to get there 20 minutes to spare and then leave immediately. So I decided I'm just going to push that back to the next day, right? So I let them know of that. I pack everything up, give a sorrowful goodbye, hop in my car, and I'm off, right? I go back to my uncle's place. Once again, another chill night. I think I did a little bit of sorting, but for the most part, I was just relaxing. So the next day, this is Thursday. This is the moment. This is a big day. A lot of stuff happened. So first thing, I wake up. I'm fasting that day. So I've been fasting basically all these days. I hop in my car, and my current plan was to meet with this friend of mine. Actually, maybe I listen to the podcast. I know we listen to if you're listening. Hi. I hop into my car, and our original plan was I was going to go there. I was going to bust out my vinyl player, and we could listen to some fantastic Chuck Mangione music on vinyl, and just relax and chill and hang out. And also I was going to give him some of his stuff back because I had borrowed his bass guitar. So I was going to give that back to him. So I get there. On my way there, so I'm driving through a neighborhood, right? And some kids were playing, and something came into the road, like one of their toys or something. And so I had to swerve to avoid it. And I hit the curb, right? I didn't think it was that bad. It didn't seem that bad. So I keep going, right? I go down the interstate, get to my friend's place, okay? We get there, say hi, I unload some of my stuff. We chat for about 10-15 minutes to hey, let's set up the vinyl player, right? So put my record player up, and I realize I didn't have the right adapter for his stereo system. And it's hey, you want to make a quick trip to Best Buy or somewhere? The nearest store is Best Buy. So we're sure, okay, we get in the car, go to Best Buy. We go there, they don't have it, okay? So we hop into the parking lot, and we head out. And on our way out, this woman's hey, front right. And I'm oh, okay, whatever. And I didn't notice my tire pressure was low, so maybe it was running a little low. Sometimes my tires get a little leaky, so it's not that big a deal. And so I remember the Best Buy people said, hey, go to Guitar Center. So Guitar Center's maybe 15-20 minutes away. We go to Guitar Center. We get it. It's great. So we're all right, quest complete. Let's go listen to some Chuck, right? We get back in my car. And when I go out, there is some intense rumbling from the front right of my car. And I'm oh, hey, that doesn't sound very good. So I'm I tell my friend, okay, check the glove box. I should have a tire pressure indicator there, a gauge. Grab it. Let's get ready. We'll just pull over somewhere and check it. So we pull over. I parallel parks over in the city. It's kind of a pain. And we hop out. He goes around and is hey, I don't need just to check that your tire pressure's low. And I go there, and it is totally flat. It is as flat as it'll go. And I'm okay, we could grab the spare, but at this point, my trunk is still full of all the stuff from my dorm, so I can't get to my spare. So we grab a tire inflator, an air compressor I keep in my car. Thank God I had it. We grab it, and we start inflating my car. Wait about 10 minutes. This dude asks if we're okay. We say we're fine. And we inflate it up. and we drive back to his place because his place wasn't that far, because we ended up kind of going to Best Buy, which is a ways out, and then coming back. So we get to his house. I have to empty everything out of the car, and in the middle of this, one of his friends FaceTimes him, asking him for a very specific recipe for something, which I'm not going to go into length to, but a very, very specific recipe for something. And so he's doing that. I'm emptying everything out of the car. We get the spare out, right? We jack the car up. We put the spare on, and may I just say, spares are disgusting to look at. I hate them. They look all weird and dinky and dumb. And I'm like, okay, so this says 50 miles an hour only, so I can't take this on the interstate. So we say, hey, you want to go to a service station, see if they can repair the tire, so I can top that back up and head out. We go to a service station. Like, hey, you have a sidewall rupture. We can't fix that. You need a new tire. And I say, hey, can you sell me a tire? And they say no. So we drive to NTB, National Tire and Battery. We get there, we park, and at this point, it's, I think, 4:30? And he had plans for dinner with his dad at 6, so we have to keep everything in mind, right? So we go to NTB, and there's one guy working at NTB, and this dude is just eating his ass. He's like, man, I've been here for 3 hours for 4 tires, man. This is some bullshit. What you doing? Okay? And we let that guy do his thing. Then we go and say, hey, I got my tires is busted. Can you take a look at it? Maybe get me a new one, right? And he's like, okay, sure. So we go out. He gets it. He's like, all right, he gets the make, the number, and everything. And then I ask him, all right, when can we get this tire done? He's like, I do it, but you need a time machine. I'm like, wait, excuse me? Because I thought he misspoke. He's like, I'm gonna need a time machine because I'm booked for today. And I'm like, okay, fuck you. But also, then I'm like, hey, can you sell me the tire? I'll put it on myself. And he's like, sorry, I can't do that because you have to put it onto the rim and balance it, right? And I didn't have the machine to do that. I just had a jack and a wrench. And say, all right, is there anywhere else we can go? And it's like, okay, yeah, never mind, I can get that done. I should be able to squeeze it in. A little bit sleazy. It wasn't even like I was gonna go to a store. I was like, hey, can I just go to another NTB's? They're like one nearby. But nope, he had to have it done at his. So we're like, all right, cool. I wheel in the tire, I give it to him, and then we begin waiting. Me and my friend begin reading a bunch of tire industry publications, learning about revolutions in the world of tires. Like, big stuff's happening, man. Big stuff, just gotta say. Big revolutions, like Sumitomo, they're making waves. It's good stuff. And we also read
crazy stuff, dude.
I think it was like this Wine Inspector. We're reading some shitty magazines. And
but
so,
dude, what about Kumo?
Look, man, I'm talking like
more like Kumho tires. Dude.
So we started joking about being like tire elitists, and I was like, man, Sumitomo, that's a no-no for medium distance driving. You're going short, you're good. Long, you're good, but that medium warm-up period just ain't right. We started making a bunch of jokes about like tire industry shit, and at this point it's like 5, okay? And we're like, all right, he should have it done in an hour, right? It's just like putting the tire onto the rim and balancing it. It just shouldn't take that long. Half an hour passes. An hour passes, 6 o'clock. I tell him, you should probably tell your dad that you're not going to make it, right? Or you should wait a little bit. So he gives us until 6:30, right? We're still waiting. And finally, after 6:30, he's like, all right, I got your tire wheeled up, but like the rim's a bit messed up, so we couldn't balance it fully. I'm like, all right, whatever, just give it to me. So we take it, we jack up my car in the parking lot, throw it on there, wash our hands with a half-empty can of sparkling water, well, that's flat at this point, and drive back to his place. And also forgot to mention, while I was putting on the spare, my mom calls me, like, hey, can I call you back? I'm changing my tire. She's like, okay, fine. And then after a few minutes, it hit her that I said I was changing my tire. So then she starts spamming my dad, who was in town at the time. And so, long story short, we finally get it on, load the stuff up, didn't get this in any chuck. I head back, right? And so, at this point, like I said, my dad's in town, and he was planning to get a hotel for the two of us to stay in so I could spend some time with him. So I go there, pretty chill, just hung out with my dad for a bit. It was really nice. I was fasting, too, for most of that. And then, fast forward to Monday. Not a lot happens in the weekend. It's all around pretty chill. It's flight time. I'm flying to India, where I'm at now. I'm in New Delhi. And I actually put together shot some footage for a little vlog that may or may not go up on the Sleepdrunk channel that I actually haven't told you about yet, Alex. But yeah, I shot some footage. I'll edit that sometime this week. We'll see.
Oof.
And
what's up, Casey Neistat?
I just thought, it could be an interesting experience. I could talk about what I'm doing. But I get in my plane, and the night before, I downloaded a game. Game called Stardew Valley, which is fantastic. It's so good.
Yes, it is.
I got it on my Switch. Yeah, I knew you'd be the kind of guy to like it. I knew you would. I got it on my Switch. It is.
Yo, I played that 2 years ago.
It's perfect on the Switch. It is perfect on the Switch. I had a 2-leg flight. It was 13 hours and then 4 hours. I think I clocked 9 hours straight on the plane in Stardew Valley.
Jesus.
That game is
How long did you make it in that time?
I got into midsummer.
Yeah, that game takes forever to progress.
Yeah, it's a slow game, but it is fantastic. I played a lot of Stardew Valley. Listened to some great podcasts, Cortex for Economics Radio, some Planet Money, great stuff. Then I get to Dubai, which was my stopover point. I literally just rush to to my next thing. Also, props to Dubai Airport. Their security is so fast. It is blazing fast compared to like the US TSA. I just hop in there. It's the same level of like, you still have to take everything out. Like you take out the same amount of stuff, but they have it organized in a much more efficient way. So people just flow faster. Like the lines are set up and they're spaced out in such a way that people just flow faster. I don't know how they do it.
United States government.
Yep. But UAE, they did it. It was fantastic. Props, DXB, y'all have great security. Get through there.
They did it.
Grab a coffee, and then just board my flight. They boarded like an hour before, which is a bit abnormal, but it makes sense because it's a pretty packed flight. Hop in my flight, play more Stardew Valley, and then I land here. I chill out the next day. It was my brother's birthday, so I celebrated that a little bit. And then I came down with a cold, like yesterday. And now I'm here, and I'm still a little sick, but it's clearing out. Yeah, that was my past few days. It's been wild. But also, Stardew Valley has multiplayer now, Alex. So
yeah, I know. We were playing multiplayer last year.
Yeah,
because they came out
I'm
with
late to the train, but I might honestly just get it on PC.
Stardew Valley's pretty cool on PC.
Fantastic. But the thing about the Switch is that
you can play with your Xbox controller on PC.
Ooh, see, actually, I think I probably prefer it with a keyboard. Because
I always play with my keyboard, but Ryan prefers his Xbox controller.
Yeah, no, but it's the thing about it on the Switch is that like it's such a good game for filling time, like in a long haul flight.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It was 100%. It was wonderful. It was so good.
The amazing thing about that is that the entire game was created by one guy.
Really? I thought it was a team.
He just sat down one day. He's like, I'm gonna make a game.
Wow.
And look at it.
Wow. Just wow. And the other good thing is that since I was on the plane, I did have access to the wiki, so I was just kind of playing it purely organically.
That's an experience.
In hindsight, I made some terrible decisions. Like, I hampered myself financially.
Yeah, because the wiki tells you like what plants are most profitable.
Yeah, and also like I didn't realize that I should be upscaling. I was spending all my money on gear improvements, and like I think in the end I just had a few parsnip patches and then like some other stuff. But it's so good. But yeah, that's basically been my week. And I think today I spent literally I created a multiplayer world with my brother on Stardew Valley, and so playing that together. We are in summer on that world, which we've been doing over the past couple of days. But yeah, that has been Stardew Valley. It's been great.
And that was Stardew Valley.
All right. So this next section that we're doing is something that, like, I guess it's much more of a me segment, but we're going to talk a bit about music. For those of you who don't know, I am a musician. I've been playing music for over 10 years now, actually. I'm a saxophonist primarily. And because of that, I see music differently. Like, I both listen to it for enjoyment, but I can also see it as a tool. Like a tool for getting things done. So this segment's going to be talking about the kind of music we listen to, music in our lives, what we use it for, and we'll finish off with some recommendations for each other and for you listeners. So, Alex, how does music fit into your life? And what do you listen to, of course?
I'm not a musician. I'm just your average person. I'm no music snob or elitist, and I'm sure the people that are music elitists are gonna, scoff at my tastes and whatnot. But I just sort of listen to whatever I think sounds good. My main genre is alternative rock. I just think it fills a very nice gap between pop and rock. Like it's not
I agree.
pop, but it's also not like
Led Zeppelin,
hardcore rock.
Yeah.
It's just a lighter rock. and it's my favorite genre. And I listen to other things, like I listen to some rap, and I listen to classic rock, I guess, is that if that counts as a different genre, or just just some older stuff. I can appreciate 80s. I can appreciate most things, except modern country is terrible. Don't at me.
Hey, don't forget Taylor though. Come on.
Yeah, Taylor Swift. I mean, come on. Old Taylor.
Old Taylor. I'm talking Fearless, her first album, even going into her like third. Yeah, but
this guy, him and his Taylor. All right.
Look, all I'm saying is, back in 6th grade, I f***ed with Taylor Swift. When none of the other guys did, I did. So I'm an OG Swiftie. Don't come at me.
So, music, it's not a huge part of my life. Like I wasn't a band kid or anything, so it's just when I listen to it, and that happens to be always when I'm in the car, and I now have a Bluetooth speaker, so I always listen to it in the shower because I have a waterproof speaker. And maybe if I'm hanging out with the guys, just booling, then we'll throw on some sick beats, but it's just chill,
All right.
And let's see. So, all right, do I go ahead and move into recommendations?
No. We'll do recommendations at the end, so we'll just like swap it off.
Okay, well, then you go ahead, because I don't really have anything else to say. Actually, I do. I have some commentary.
Okay.
So, in the alternative scene, oh, wow, I sound like an idiot.
Yeah, you do. You sound like a musical elitist.
Alternative has generally always been like pretty good. Like there's just like a handful of songs that'll come up on the music platform radio stations or playlists. Like Spotify, I listen to the new alt, and on Google Play Music, back when I used to listen to that primarily, they have a radio called Today's Alternative Hits. They renamed it to Alternative Hot List. So look for one of those, depending on how old your Google account is what it shows up as. Which is really annoying, whatever. So formerly, alternative was always pretty good. There was just a handful of songs that, like, I just didn't necessarily care for. And then that kind of started changing in, last year. I think the early 2018, like in the winter, there was like just these. There was this new life that was being breathed into alternative, but it wasn't good. It was just these bands that weren't necessarily good. You can kind of tell just by listening to them that they're jumping in it to make a quick buck. Yeah, because
they're what I would call like plastic almost, like manufactured.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. They just seem really fake in a way. I don't know. But they're really overtaking it, and I don't understand how people don't see that and like just not want to listen to it. Because the songs that I would describe that as tend to not stay in the new alt playlist as long as the genuinely good ones.
Yeah, because they have a much less staying power. And frankly, I think that's actually something I'm going to make a comment on in a little bit with the different genre. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, but the OGs of this new plasticky style are Fall Out Boy and X Ambassadors. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about if you listen to alternative. And then it started with 21 Pilots. They started trying to associate with alternative, and they're just bad. I'm sorry. The 21 Pilots, I don't think they've released anything good at all. All of their songs sound the same. Imagine Dragons was even a little bit like that, just because their stuff all sounds the same, but it's not quite to the extent of some of these bands. And now there are bands out there, like, I believe Half the Animal is one of them, Switchfoot is one of them. They're just really plasticky. The Unlikely Candidates, they used to be decent, they're now. And there's another one, Morgan, but with an X instead of an A.
What? Just like Mixergan?
Just Morgixon.
Oh, like more Gaxon?
Morgigson.
Morgigson? Okay, that's weird.
Yeah. And then I don't know. There's a few others, but they're just kind of there just cheapening the sound of alt. And then there's the other ones that are the OGs, you know, they're constantly dropping fire. Like let me pull out a good example of that, and then I'll move down the list. Like the 1975, they've always had some good stuff. Where's
Saint Motel?
Saint Motel, amazing band.
I mean, they haven't released anything in a little bit.
Couldn't recommend Saint Motel enough. Yeah, they're really slow with their release schedule, but they're still amazing. Their album Saint Motel-Vision is one of the only albums that I've ever found that I can just sit down and listen to the whole album and enjoy everything. Local Natives is pretty good. They're different, but they're good. I can't find the Revivalists.
Yeah, I think I remember you mentioned
them. They make really
them.
good stuff. I forgot about If Monsters and Men. Apparently they have a new song out. I'll have to listen to that one. And Missio. Oh, and then I have so I texted Alavi about this just the other day. I made an outstanding discovery. So in case you guys haven't heard of him, there's a YouTuber called Churdleys, and he makes, you know, comedy videos on YouTube. It's pretty good stuff.
Weird comedy videos, but yeah,
it's interesting. Like he gets in character and everything.
He has very specific style.
Yes, he has like his few characters that always appear. Like there's like a video that would be centered around one of his characters, and I think there's 3 main ones. There's Travis. They're all starting with a CH. There's Travis, Chet, and Cheb. And I think you should just go watch him.
Yeah,
He's a great YouTuber. It's a weird style to get used to. Yeah. But there's this guy that sometimes shows up in their videos that's just an absolute unit. He's just a great meme. So in the videos, he's usually in Cheb videos. He goes by Turbo. This dude has like the most 90s like nylon windbreaker coat thing that he always wears no matter how hot it is. It's like a weird dull blue and pink, and he has a bowl cut, and he's like, his thing is like scooters. Well, come to find out, his name is Oliver, and he races scooters in real life. Like that's his thing. And his whole name is Oliver Tree. He has a song that's been on my alt playlist for a while now called Hurt. In fact, you might have seen the Genius video on YouTube for it. It's better than it has any right to be. And quite honestly, I'm proud of old Turbo.
Nice. So does that about wrap it up?
Yeah, that wraps up my commentary.
All right. So switching gears to me. So I am a musician, and because of that, I try to listen to a very wide variety of genres, because I feel like if you get trapped in a box, especially someone who creates music, what you do ends up becoming very formulaic and you can't grow. So like honestly, quite frankly, I have a favorite artist in basically every genre. Like name them off, like I can name some of them, like, you know, hip hop, Logic, jazz. I've been listening to a lot of Chuck Mangione lately, love him. Classical, Ravel is really good. Debussy, Chopin, I love all of them. Like, I can just go on and on forever, right? And so, because of that, I find that certain kinds of music fit different places in my life, because I like to use music as a tool. Like, for example, if I'm reading a textbook, right, I'm doing textbook readings, I'll put on classical music, preferably Debussy, Chopin, Ravel, those guys. I'm a huge fan of that period of classical music, which is really technically called, like, I think it's the modern era of classical. Might be, like, Romance. I'm not sure. I don't know my eras, right? Or if I'm doing math, for some reason, having Logic playing when I do math, like if I put on Bobby Tarantino too, it makes math so much more bearable, which is weird. But like, so I have something that fits in basically every genre. The one exception that I don't really listen to, and this is actually for that whole plastic reason, is K-pop. Like, it's manufactured to just,
that's the whole point of K-pop, is to just be as poppy as possible. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's just manufactured to like stick in your head. Like, I have a friend who's into K-pop, and like I get it. I get why people like it, because it has this like it has like most what in Japan is called like idol culture, where these certain people are like they become public characters almost, and in doing that, people kind of like associate with them, they relate to them and all that stuff. But K-pop just to me feels so fake and not genuine. Like I just feel like it's just so manufactured. Like for a good example is like BTS, right? They're probably the most popular K-pop group out there. In fact, there was one song of theirs that I like. It's called Mic Drop. It's a fun song. But when you look at them, like they have the same aesthetic, but they're like, oh, hey, well, why don't we do it in really formulaic, generic Latin? Or why don't we do it in just a regular soulful thing? But it's the same idea that's being plastered onto stereotypes of other genres. And because of that, I just can't listen to K-pop because it feels weird to me. It just makes me feel off, right? And like, I think that is just a commentary on the music industry in general, I feel, and how it's going. Because especially when you look at like the hip-hop scene, like a great example of this is like a rapper called Kid Buu, who's like an underground rapper, who is, if like you take like SoundCloud, imagine if it's a sponge and you squeeze it into a like mason jar, you get Kid Buu. That is what he is. He also has this whole other past where like he thinks he's a clone of someone and like is actually like in his mid 30s but pretends like he's 20. It's a whole thing. But yeah. And it's like
sounds pretty unitary.
It's just, I can't get behind stuff like that. Like, for me, when I listen to music, I want it to come from a genuine place, because I feel like that's how you get not just the most quality, but the most depth. Because music can be...
Yeah, music has a meaning.
It's like music tells a story in a lot of ways. Even a classical piece tells a story. You have to train yourself to learn how to listen to it, but it tells a story. And I feel like with formulaic, basic music, you don't get that story. And I think this goes to everything. Like, for example, a great example is Logic is known for being a storyteller. That's more in his albums. Like, I think The Incredible True Story is a great album, but also a fantastic story about people drifting through space and being like the last remnants of humanity. It's fantastic. I highly recommend you listen to it. Or even like Green Day. Like, I love their music. They tell stories. They tell commentaries about their zeitgeist. Or I think something that like was really good in mind, but I forgot it. Yeah, I'm blanking on it, but
disappointing.
Yeah, it'd be like, to be fair, I'm very jet lagged and like my brain is all weird.
That's your fault.
Alright, I'll just kind of like fix my brain. I'll just give myself a lobotomy. We were talking about this earlier.
Lobotomies, trademark.
Yep,
it's the only way to solve everything.
In the 40s and 50s.
No, now I think we should bring lobotomies back. Right. Look at all the good they did.
Hashtag bring back lobotomies.
Hashtag lobotomies did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's move on to the section that I think is going to be quite interesting, a recommendation section. So the way this is going to go is that I think we've each have picked out a couple of bands or songs that we'll send to each other to listen to. So you will hear some of these reactions live, and these also be going into the you'll hear it. There'll be links in the show notes so you can listen along too. So Alex, guess which genre I've picked to recommend to you from.
I honestly have no clue, but I'm gonna say there's at least something from jazz.
You're totally wrong. I have picked J-rock. Japanese rock music.
Oh, God.
Because here's the thing, okay? I'm gonna preface this by saying, like, if you remove the lens of, like, weeaboo culture and everything around it, there are a lot of very talented J-rock bands, and I picked one that
I'm sure
I
there
think you
are,
would
but I can't
genuinely
understand anything in the song.
Here's the thing.
Like,
okay, here's the thing. So
purpose.
There's a reason. Like, I picked it in particular is because I personally listen to it. I think of it in the same way I think of jazz. I think of it like instrumental music. So put yourself in that mindset and then give it a try. Because I have no idea what they're saying, but like they have like talented guitarists, good drummers, and like it's a very good sounding song. It's a very genuine sounding song, but just don't worry about the lyrics. Just don't think about it. Just pretend it's instrumental. So I've picked a few groups. I'll send them to you in our Slack chat. Just give me a moment. I'm assuming you've picked all.
Yes, I've picked.
Yeah,
all right, that's cool. Like what I know well. Oh, for my commentary earlier, one of the good OG bands, Weezer. Can't forget about Weezer.
Oh, yeah, Weezer's great.
They are.
Weezer's wonderful. Let me just make sure this is the right song. I'm just gonna like play a little bit off my phone.
Oh, Queens of the Stone Age is interesting.
All right, so sure.
And Coin, they're weird but good.
So for those of you who are wondering, bands I picked were two, Kana-Boon and Asian Kung Fu Generation. They're both relatively similar, but I quite like what they do. So I think Rewrite's good. I also want to pick songs that aren't anime openings because, like, I'm not trying to do that. Like, that's easy. I picked one song that is an anime opening because it's fantastic.
This honestly just sounds like something that would come up on my alt station and just if I were in Japan.
Yeah. Like, it's not bad. I love it.
No, it's not bad, but like I don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, it just sounds like it's one of my alt songs that's just in a different language.
Yeah. Just think of it as if it is like not, as if it's not in English, or as if it's like instrumental, I should say. So, quick change. I'm just gonna pick something else. I'm just gonna swap that with Radwimps instead of Asian Kung Fu Generation because they're okay. This is also a soundtrack piece, but this is from I think probably the most prominent anime movie of all time, and that was in big part because of its soundtrack. It's a fantastic soundtrack. So here is the last link. So
the first genre of like subgenre I feel like is just the older sounding stuff, the stuff that's more close to rock than it is pop. So one of my favorite bands in that space, they haven't released anything recently, but it's Kings of Leon. You might have actually heard of them.
Okay, Kings of Leon?
Yes. Okay. And the two that I would recommend are Reverend. It's on their 2016 album called Walls. And then also Waste a Moment, but not the one that's on Walls. I personally believe that the live version of Waste a Moment is better, which is weird, but I just do. So these are more of a chill group. I think The Head and the Heart make some good stuff. So City of Angels by them is one of their best. Or maybe Rhythm and Blues. They're both on the same album called Signs of Light, but I think City of Angels is better. Okay. And then, are you aware of Electric Guest? I feel like I've heard of them. Try Dear to Me and Oh Devil by Electric Guest, both on Plural. All right, got it. There's so much more that I could recommend, but yeah, trust me, there was two. I just try to like keep my things concise, but yeah. Okay, I like this. It's very soulful. Reverend, yeah. This is all I feel like a lot closer to like old school rock. Okay, Reverend was good. I like that. I really like the singer's voice. I think the vocalist has a fantastic voice. Yes, they are quite talented. Yeah. All right, moving on to the next one. All right, I've heard what I need to hear.
Have you listened to all of them? Yes. All right, I also think I've heard what I need to hear. So, Alex, I'll let you start. What did you think of the selections I sent you? So I actually, like I said, I with all of what you've given me here. The instrumentals are really good on all of them. I think it's really close to what I usually listen to. The lyrics they just sort of get in the way though, because I don't understand. I don't know Japanese, so they don't mean anything to me. Except, I must say the voice on the individual that's singing in the third one that you recommended is actually quite nice. Yeah, like, he can sing. Yeah. For context, the third one I sent to him was Zen Zen Zense by Radwimps. For those of you who've seen the movie Your Name, it's one of the key soundtracks, and they're just a fantastic band. And I think they're one of the reasons that, because the movie it's from, I think is the best-selling anime movie of all time. It came out a couple years ago. It was snubbed for an Oscar by like most professional opinions, even. So it's a fantastic movie, and one of the reasons it was good was because that band made a fantastic soundtrack. But yeah, continue. And that's all I have to say. Okay, that's fair. Would you listen to this on your own? Let's see if you could get used to the lyrics, like just like not getting it. Would you listen to this kind of stuff on your own? Only if I could find a large enough collection of songs like the third one where the lyrics, even though I don't understand them, still sound good. I can hook you up with that. I have a repository. I mean, all right. All right. So I guess in my case, I think if I was to rank them, so I listened to let me pull up my notes. Listen to the first song by Kings of Leon, I think I forgot what it was called. City of Angels by Head and the Heart, and Electric Guest. I think if I were to rank them, I'd say my favorite would be Dear to Me by Electric Guest, followed by the Kings of Leon song I listened to. Is it the Reverend or Waste of Moment? Reverend. And then probably at the bottom I'd put City of Angels. I enjoyed all of them, but I think one of my main nitpicks I've had with alt, and this is very much a me thing, like this is very, very a me thing, is that I find that a lot of alt music is very strongly centered around what is in essence a hook. but it's not so centered that the hook becomes the driving point. And this is just something that, as someone who like makes and is a lot more critical of music that I follow, it's like there'll be this one key riff that they use just a little too much for my taste, and once again, it's super nitpicky. But I found especially in Dear to Me, that song was great. It was a very nice, fun, smooth, groovy vibe. Like, it reminded me a lot of R&B, and I think that could even just pass as like a funk R&B song, honestly. I think that was really good. And then in Kings of Leon, I feel like they just, in Reverend, they didn't really go in on that core hook that really, I think, kept it going. Because, yeah, like I said, just one of my things with alt. And I feel like that whole notion of having that core idea can work even in that way, but it has to be a lot more put into. Like, I think, for example, like in hip hop music, there were a lot of songs that are like the hook, right? That really are based on the hook. But since they really go all in on it, it works. But yeah, like, all of it was really good. And I think I would probably listen. I think especially Reverend and Dear to Me, I would totally listen to that on my own.
Yeah, and more on Electric Guest, they always have just a weird style that just goes out and fills its own little niches. Like, their one that introduced me to them is called This Head I Hold. It's another banger, but it's just different. There's nothing out there that's quite like what Electric Guest is doing.
So once again, for all of you listeners, links to the songs that we listen to will be in the show notes, just under various categories. Go ahead, give them a listen, and let us know what you think about them. You can tweet us at SleepDrunkPC.
So thank you for listening to this episode of Sleep Drunk. Remember that the first person to guess the song of the day on any of our social media or via email will get a shout out in the next episode. And the song of the day for episode 13 was Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams.
Yes, I'm sure at least some of you are familiar with it, I hope.
Okay. That was just a bit of a meme. It was like the last second, and I had just heard that, and I was just like, song of the day.
Yep.
Song of the day material and a half right there.
Yep.
And the Sleep Drunk podcast can be found on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. We'll catch you next week.
We'll catch you next week.